dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Hey man, it's your boy. I'm back. It's DieHard Derek Gordon, and it is That Midnight Hustle. You know I'm spoiling you guys out there because every week we have new people on. We're talking about all different kinds of things. But somebody who I wanted to have a couple of weeks ago, let me just break it down. I mean, you started looking at her resume. She's a rock star. She's a former wrestling personality. She's a podcast host on Vince Russo's The Brand. She's a motivational speaker. She's a mental health advocate. And as of August 2nd, live on the TLC Network, she was a reality TV show host. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the one and only Goldylocks. What's going on, girl?
I clap too. Clap too, not for myself. I just do that on my podcast too. I appreciate that. And that's a lot to say. And I appreciate you even doing your homework. That's better than my fanfare on my podcast. Half the time I have no idea what's going on. Cause sometimes you get guests last minute. You don't get a chance to really research them and you just look like a twat. So at least I do.
It's funny. Appreciate that. I had you booked 2 weeks ago when the show launched on TLC, and I guess there was a miscommunication. It was like supposed to be 2 days later. It was fresh in my mind. I'm like, shit, I gotta go back and watch the show again. But I'm glad we got you now. So much that I want to talk to you about. But first things first, calling the Cheapskates, man.
Yeah.
Here's what would piss me off. I know we spoke about this a little bit right before we went on the air, but August 2nd, I log in. I'm watching this show. You had me. I normally don't watch this shit. I'm TLC. What? Nah, I'm good. Then I see Dr. Pimple Popper. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Goldie's on that network?
Yeah.
I gotta check this out.
Isn't she cool? Like I've been popping for her, like hard. Yeah, like
it's nuts. But
she's legit though. She wants to help people out. Like she's a kind lady. Like I dig her.
And you want to help people out. And I logged in on August 2nd. The following week, I'm like, where's Goldy? I didn't see any more Goldy on TLC. What's going on?
We are waiting to find out. All I can ask is that people promoted it on August 2nd, which they did. The post-show conversation was more than I expected. And I guess I've been doing this for so long that shit's going to hit the fan somewhere and you never know where, but like it hit the fan with the people that are the closest to me that I really thought would be there to support me. And some of them didn't even watch it. Whereas the wrestling community embraced me with completely open arms. And if it wasn't for the wrestling community, it wouldn't have seen the light of day on social media post-show. Musician people, they don't care. They want to see you fail. They like to see you do badly. That's just how music folks are. And then everybody else just sort of watches me. And, they know it's on, but they don't interact or do anything that could possibly support. It was hands down 99.9% the wrestling community that was there to rally for me. And I will always remember that. Always. They were amazing. Even my dad was like reminding me, those people have always been there for you. And, I always haven't been as like nice to people. Like when I was in wrestling, I think a lot of I don't like the word fans. I never have, but even more so, I don't like that word supporters. It's like, sometimes I felt like I was being bothered or like they were just being a little obtrusive when I should have just been better. I should have had my head out of my ass and been kinder and more receptive, but I was new to it all. And some of them can be very like whoosh, like a lot. And I didn't appreciate it fully for what it was. So now when somebody's got anything good or bad to say to me, I really appreciate that. And I take it for what it is. So thank you to everybody. If you are in the wrestling community, thanks for being awesome and writing very funny stuff after the show. Very, very like the lettuce bikini gimmick. Yes. People were very, very funny. And I like clever, witty comments. That is what makes a guy hot to me, is when you can think of something witty and funny and clever to say, where I'm like, that's what women like they don't necessarily like you to always tell them how beautiful. Well, some do if they've got dad issues and are freaking insecure, run for the hills, and they would like compliments like that. Like I like when somebody really notices what I'm doing. I like that.
What was like the best line you heard based on the feedback?
Oh, just really funny stuff with the lettuce bikini. There is a post on Twitter. If you go back to 8-2, which it's a ways back. And I think it's like me coming out of a door in silver high heels look for that post, mention hashtag Midnight Hustle or include Midnight Hustle in that. And maybe we should do, depending on how many entries we get, we'll do like an after a post show Midnight Hustle giveaway, which I've been doing lunch every day for like weeks before the show, dinners, gave away almost $500 in just like Venmo and Cash Apps, which was, that's decent for just a comment. So you know what, if you go to the TLC's handle on Twitter, look for the silver shoes on A2, mention Midnight Hustle. I'll troll through those after this show and see who can win something. I don't know what it is, but we'll figure out something good. Clever stuff about eating a salad and whatnot. But it was like, it rides the line and it's good.
Yeah, and it's funny. Like I saw it, and the first thing I thought was like, one, I was waiting for the next episode. I didn't know what to expect, and then they start cutting the promo on you. Like, all right, well, we brought in Goldy for a reason. Goldy is like this notorious cheapskate, and then like, here's a couple of examples. Goldy wears a lettuce bikini. I'm like, get the fuck, she ain't not wearing no lettuce. Then you come out dressed like a Caesar salad, and I'm like, oh,
yes.
you dudes on Twitter turn vegan immediately. They're like, yo, fuck meat. I'm gonna eat that. Like, it's just.
But that's funny. That's funny. I loved that. Those are the comments that were really exactly what you just said. Like, and because of the context, it's okay to say I'd eat that without me going, ew, or you know what I mean? Like, I like clever stuff. My dad didn't like the bikini lettuce thing or any of it at all. Like he just let me know he didn't like any of that. So I just went, okay. And I just let it go.
So I got to ask this question because I don't want to ruin the show. And for anybody who hasn't seen it yet, right now, I believe it might have been like a pilot episode. So go out there, check your on-demand services, pull it up, TLC Network, calling the Cheapskates. One episode right now, so it's going to be easy to find. Yep. But again, without ruining the show, and I know this because I have directed and produced some reality type stuff in the past. How much of that is actually a work? Because I do not see Goldylocks dumpster diving for food and cake.
A lot of it could be perceived as a work. And if there's anything that I'm doing that, like, maybe I didn't harm anybody on that show, but like most of that stuff comes from my own personal stuff. So yes, I have dumpster dived when I was going bankrupt, when I got fired from TNA, when I got completely thrown to the curb from Impact Wrestling and had no money, no place to live or whatever. That particular thing and the promo that you really didn't see, like when Kevin, the dad, says, I'm not doing that. And like, they were like, what the fuck is she doing? Like, I cut probably a 7-minute promo about, you have no idea what it's like to really be hungry and how there's some really good food in dumpsters. Or when I was going through a really dark time, because when I got fired, you wear that shirt, but I had my record deal with Prince and Paisley Park and some really heavy hitters in Minneapolis. And all of a sudden I went from making like $450,000 a year to zero. And I had zero saved, zero investments, just living off the hog, thought it would all be coming in forever. And then one day it was like, I got fired from wrestling. I lost my record deal. I lost my publishing money that was coming in. Like, it was so weird. It was all connected. The IRS came after me for making bad business decisions that my ex was telling me what to do. I was super young, and they came back years later and they're like, you got to justify this or explain it. And I was no longer with him and didn't have his legal representation. So I was screwed. And I was too proud to like tell anybody what happened. I was scared. I'd been on this great show and done all this stuff and I hadn't saved anything. And so I ended up in some really bad places with bad people, but they weren't that bad. I guess society would say they're bad, but the drug dealers and the hookers and all the people took care of me. And one of the things that I would do is I would wait until the night shift was just getting done. And a lot of restaurants, or right when they're really cleaning, dumping, gas stations, fuel stations, when like all those donuts and big Danishes and when they're expired, they dump them, and I would go dig through the trash cans. And then, some people started to see there's this, girl who obviously, isn't homeless, but like really needs it. And they would put like a layer of plastic on the top of the trash and then do their job by putting the stuff on top of it so it wasn't touching the trash for me. But there's like a lesson in that. Like, if you're really, really that hungry, and you're trying, whether it's you're homeless and you're pushing a cart with aluminum cans, or you're standing at the side of an intersection, like not just with a sign, you know, like, cause anybody can do that, but a bucket with water and a squeegee you stole from the fuel station, whatever it is, you're trying to earn your money. Like, you know, people will help you. And that's what, you know, I was trying to teach them is like, I think there was like a $300 food order that they went home with off that show. And it was an Uber. It was an Uber Eats that nobody picked up. And it was filet mignon and $300 worth of food. And they're like, oh, we got to dump it. You know, so it was covered with some stuff and everything, but it wasn't contaminated. And if you were really, really hungry, or you're like, I have a family, and not like, if you said to a restaurant, can I clean up the back alleyway for you every night? Can I bring my own broom and mop or scrub stuff for you? And then would you just, if there's any Uber Eats thing, could you shoot me a text or just leave a little, you know, somebody would help you out. And that's the lesson of it. Like, so appreciate stuff. And the biggest thing that people ask me, Derek, is what's the biggest money saving tip? And I'm like, if you're going to eat out, like take home your leftovers. And most men will not do it out of pride. They're like, I don't do that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, then you're wasting a lot of money and resources that there's somebody else out there that would go crazy for. So
I don't understand why when I go out to eat, I'm like, yo, let me get another plate because I'm gonna eat this shit tomorrow. It's delicious.
Exactly.
And I'm always constantly, because the thing is, there's time my kids are spoiled little pricks, and I buy them whatever they want, all sorts of food, and they don't realize that they're hungry people out there. They also don't understand how to earn a buck and save a buck. It's not what you make, it's what you save. So there's days, and we have a 24-hour rule in my house. I'm like, listen, that shit's in the fridge and you don't touch it, it's fair game to anybody. That's it. We're jumping in there. Yeah, I'm like, that's it, because they don't want to eat leftovers either. They're like, I'm too good for that. Cook something fresh. I'm like, fuck you. You got like Tostino's pizzas. Go eat that shit. And I got the good shit from yesterday. But I watched the show. And the reason why I said that was because, like I said, I've done some reality stuff in the past. And I know that when you're dealing with people who aren't camera ready, you just jump in, a family's like, hey, yeah, I'd love to be on the show and I'll do it. And then you start recording like, oh my God, these people are not working. Then, nobody's gonna watch the show. These people are not ready. What can we do? Goldy, see if you can get them to eat some shit out the dumpster. Like, all right, I'll be right back. So I'm wondering, but you legit have a story as to what happened to you. The one thing that I'm wondering now is the work, because I know I would have done this as a rib. Is like, all right, when you came, I knew the punchline already. When you came with the compost, you're like, yo, you're holding my shit in your hand, like mixing my shit up, but that's Goldy shit right there. But then you got them to shit outside, and that's a hysterical thing, because I would have been like, I would have put money up to like, Goldy, see if you get them to shit in the box. You got them, because the next day they're looking for Junior, and you're like, where's Junior at? We need to start rolling. Like, yo, Junior's outside shitting in the box.
Yeah, legit shoot. He wanted to prove to everybody that he'd do it. And it's sort of like, is it that bad to crap in a box? You know what I mean? Like, you do that, and then you realize it's really not that bad to compost, just regular compost. Right. And then if you compost, you realize, it's really not that bad to have a garden. And if you don't want to have the garden, then you realize, it's really not that bad to eat everything in my refrigerator and my freezer. Do you see where I'm going? It's like a backwards psychology approach. Yeah. So you go to the extreme because people are like, oh, hell no, I'm not going to do this, or, even though there's a lot of people who do human composting, but all the heat that I got from all the haters post show, they're just like, you're sick. And I'm like, you can't. I'm like, did you even go research? Like, there's like a whole, Hugh poo manure handbook of how to do this. First off, when you shit in a box, it composts for a year to 2 years. You're talking about 24 months of a breakdown before you even go near that stuff to use it as fertilizer. So if you're as ignorant to think that in freaking 2 years, whatever you've put out there, unless it's like nuclear waste or something, fine, point made. But like, people use cow manure all the time, and that, again, it breaks down over time, and that's insanely nutrients in that soil. Same with human, but it's like, people just like thought I was out taking a dookie, dropping a brown, and then like maybe next week, like putting it on my vegetable. Like, that's not, again, because you're just so stupid, and I enjoy like today right before the show. Some of the most hellacious. I even posted one on Twitter. I'm like, if your Monday is bad, check out this. It's just like, it's such pure hate. And I just die laughing because I'm a heel at heart. And I'm like, I got to you that bad that you felt the need to look my handle up and just shit on me with hate. Like, I play a hate us ball. Hate. Just so good.
Listen,
you know,
I got drunk one time and I shit in an umbrella. So I'm not one to judge. I know what it's like. You use it for compost. Me, I used it as a prank to put on a payphone, but that's another story for another time. But
that's a bad one.
But yeah, you say you're a heel, and the first thing you did, first of all, I don't know how well you got along with the family off camera, because the husband didn't look like he was having that shit. He was like, look, my wife went on the website, she signed us up. I didn't co-sign this. You come in, hey, Goldy's here. You kick in the door, like, yo, you the husband? I need last year's W-2 and 2 recent pay stubs. We're gonna break down your budget right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Which was terrifying for me. Like, you really have to have, when I was driving to South Carolina, like, you can't tell anybody what you're doing. And my family, my friends, nobody knows where I'm going. We do have a Patreon, which I will plug right now, patreon.com/Goldy with a Y locks. So the patrons were the only people that were like, hey, I'm going to do something. Hey, I'm really nervous. Hey, I'm really scared. And like, you literally have to just like, and they're spending like, there's a shit ton of people on that set, you know, and this is for real. And you better just bring your A game and walk in there. And then they want me to balance like budgets and things, which is not necessarily my strong point, but they're like making me do math in my head. And I finally just had to like pull out my calculator on my phone. But I mean, it's terrifying where you just have to put yourself in a mental place. Like, I'm the authority and I'm going to go in there and I'm going to make these people do what it is that I tell them to do, which is really scary.
Yeah, it was nuts because you went in there like, all right, you see this? This costs you X amount of dollars. You don't do that no more. By the way, give me your credit cards, chop. And I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like,
yeah, but did you
5 minutes?
Did you see her face?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yo, and then she's buying shit on the sneak behind your back. Like, you look like you want to beat her with the Amazon box. I was like,
well, there was a couple of scenes I might have, but they didn't include those.
All right, so
yeah.
What's TLC's feedback? They saw that. I mean, obviously the response has been big on social media. They've got to see what's going on. What do we have to do as fans of Goldylocks and of the show right now in order to get more episodes?
Like I said, it's so simple. Just on Twitter. Twitter is a day by day type of post. So they're going to be posting it all the time. Just go to 8-2 and look for anything right around there and just put, I want more, or this was funny, or this was effed up, or whatever you want to say. You can say, this is just absolutely stupid. You can say anything. It's just engagement. Instagram, I felt really bad because the only thing they posted on Instagram was of the Stapleton family. So right around 8-2 on Instagram, it's painting her in a horrible light. So she's getting all the heat on that. There isn't anything about me mentioned on there. And it's just heat on her. So for a while, I was encouraging people to go on Instagram and find that post and just say something, because you made a really good point. These people aren't used to all this stuff. You know, I'm used to people wishing death and cancer, and that today somebody told me I should take myself out and kill myself. I was like, well, that's nice that I got on an Instagram and decided to answer a few things, and you're telling me to commit suicide. They're like, well, it's not like suicide. It's just if you blew your brains out. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, you have a different, that's suicide to me, but have a nice day and peace be with you. And I hope, like, I'm just used to it. I'm like, what kind of freak gets on here and like finds a stranger and like just wishes death on them? Like, I literally feel sorry for people. Like, it doesn't affect me at all. Like, I'll answer a couple of them out of humor and then I'm done. Then I'm like, all right, you're a sick mother trucker and you're probably close to dying yourself. So I just, bop off of there. But anything that you can see on a TLC page with me or the show, just say something funny, or say I eat lettuce, or say something dirty. Like, here's your chance to literally say anything. I think it's hysterical. And here's the beauty of it. I have combed so much social media for 2 weeks before, seeing what people are doing, and giving away like all my extra bonuses, tip money stuff is all been Cash App, Venmo'd, or PayPal'd to people. Or even I gave cash at a show to somebody who won gift cards. Like, whatever it is, like, it's just fun. It's fun for me to see who gives a shit and who engages. Like, and I know the show will be popular in the future, and I can't wait to be at a level where you know, like an Oprah level of giving away, or an Ellen level of giving away, where people find out, sponsors find out, like, she likes to give away stuff, and like, hook me up. Like, some of the restaurants we play at, they gave us, one restaurant gave us $5,000 worth of gift cards to give away. That's a lot of gift cards, you know? And I mean, I don't say what restaurant it was, but it was a GM of a very popular restaurant who is leaving and didn't give to. So,
oh, well, good.
See what I'm saying? He's like, I'm going to have nothing to do with this company anymore. These are going to expire. You didn't get them from me. And I met him 4 hours away in a parking lot, and he gave me all of this stuff. And that's a shoot.
You're like, what are you going to fire me? I'm fucking leaving.
What are you going to fire me? I'm done. I'm retired. I leave on a high note. These are going to expire in a month. And literally, I've been going around finding people that are homeless saying, would you like a nice steak dinner? And it was, man, pretty freaking cool responses on that.
Right. Which is funny. If you give them out to all homeless people, then next time their customers gonna be just itchy and scratching. Yeah, yo, let me get the T-bone over there. Yeah, we good.
You know what? I've gone with some of the people because I know that they wouldn't serve them. And one of the best stories that I have from the past in doing that is, one guy was kind of tweaking out, but he was tweaking out in the distance because he couldn't read the door. It was, they didn't say men and women's bathroom. They had a more clever way of putting it, and he didn't know where to go. And that, you know, and again, see, you don't know what you're dealing with. You don't know what to be appreciative of, and then he kept just telling me, what you order for me. And I'm like, well, no, you can have anything you want. Like, and he, no, you order for me. And I'm like, okay, read the menu. You tell me what you want. And then when I found out, he can't read.
Oh man. But you're out there doing the Lord's work. And I'm not even a religious person, but the fact that you're like, listen, I'm over here trying, and especially in this time of COVID, this time.
Oh, dude, bro, I don't want to hear about COVID was a good time for me. I got two stories today. Two stories, bullshit. Like, we came back from out of town this weekend. We had a good weekend. Some guys were making it rain all over the stage. We had more tip money than we ever had, which would get split up and then used for band stuff. Okay. Despite what people may think from watching shows, I'm actually quite generous. So as we pull in, tired as just shot from driving all night long and then dropping other band members off, and we finally pull into where another guy parked at the studio. Some ratty minivan is blocking us, so we can't get in, and nobody's in it. I'm like, oh, hell no. I mean, I was just like, first instinct, just maddish. And then my bandmate gets out and he's like puffing it up and like, and then here comes this precious man just gone. And he's like, oh, I'll move it. I ran out of gas. And I'm just like, I just pulled in off the road. And right before that, when we were getting off the interstate, I saw a bunch of people pushing a cart. And I said to my bandmate, I wonder, he was rattling about strip clubs or something. Shut up, making it rain. I just shut up. And I just like, we're at a stoplight. I'm like, I wonder if these people need something, because they look like they were trying. Right. And then there was a hotel nearby and it looked like they were just carrying their shit. So he's like, no, I think they're good. And I said, because every time we get an abundance, I like to, whatever we can afford, I like to give something to somebody who really needs it, not just an organization here or this. I mean, you can see out of your own freaking eyes who needs it. So anyway, I just said, hey, bro, I just feel like there's something that we need to do today. Okay. 15 minutes later, we pull up on the studio and here's this, and we're mad and we're angry. And that's our first thing. It's just, how could you inconvenience me? I'm tired. You don't know who we are. And I can't get to my house and blah, 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 blah. Here comes this guy out of his mind, tweaking, out of his mind, out of gas. And we're like, he's like, I'll move it. And we were hard on him. And then he's like, I can't move it. I don't have any gas. And like, and he just sat in his car, just defeated. And he's just like, and I'm just like, and then I'm like, all right, Buzz. And I just said, hey, and he's like, just leave me alone, lady. And he just cut this huge promo. And I just looked at him and I grabbed him by the face and I just said, give me a hug. And here's this grown ass man melting in my arms, sobbing. And he's like, I need a new fucking life. I want to die. And I'm just like, all right, what can we do? What can we do today to help you? What do you need? Well, he just got out of prison. Okay. While he was in prison, both his mom and dad were shot His fiance won't have anything to do with him as of that day. No gas, no the work that he's supposed to do. It's rain. It was just a complete disaster.
Mm-hmm.
So needless to say, fill up his car, get him a few things to wear at the local store nearby. You know what he wanted to do? Guess what he wanted to do before we were all done.
Not a strip club.
Pray. Would you guys pray with me?
Of all the things.
And then as he starts his car, which I'm like, bro, just get this stolen shit off my property. He's like, it's not stolen, ma'am. I'm like, you're starting it with a flathead screwdriver. It's just get your car and and he just was like, will you pray with me? You know? And I'm like, we sat there and his little hand, I grabbed his hand. It was just like, you could just feel him like the trembling. And it's like, people have shit going on. Take it. And then of course the van light was on, went to bring it into the guy's closing his thing for diesel repair because he tried to commit suicide like 3 months ago. I mean, everybody is just like,
And this is what I'm saying though, is that in a time of uncertainty with COVID, here you are, an artist yourself who's like, fuck, everything's shut down. Where am I going to perform? How am I going to make my money?
It was brutal. I know,
horrible. But then whatever you make, your tips, your fee, whatever the case is, you're giving it away to others. When you need it yourself and your bandmates need it, you're like, you know what? I can make more.
You can make more. Enough. You can make more. And the bandmates all got their cut, and that was my cut. And one offered to kick in. And I'm like, no, it's my cut, and I'm fine. I'm fine this month. Like, it's getting better. We're out there playing. It's just there's always somebody that's got it. Like, and I don't say this to grandstand or like, look at me. I don't talk about this shit. We're just happened to happen like in the middle of the night. It's just there's always somebody that has it worse than you. And when you really think things are shitty, somebody's got it really. I mean, basically that guy was just wishing to die.
Yeah.
And what do you say to somebody? They don't have it. They don't have freaking anything. He's driving around with some stolen. You should have seen the minivan. No windows in the mother trucker. He's starting it with a flathead screwdriver. It was the most ratty, disgusting smelling thing. He's sleeping in it. And I'm like, and I'm complaining about what? Yeah.
Yeah. No, I say, listen, I would never bring this up because I'm not like you. I'm not that person looking for a pat on my back.
Yeah.
I went out with my family the other day. Me and my wife, we go out to eat, and sitting right next to us is a family there. 3 beautiful little kids. Mom has cancer. You know, she has cancer because she's pale. She's got the wrap on her head, and dad's there. And the little kid is there putting on, she's dipping her French fries into the ketchup and putting on like the lips. She's like, mommy, look, but mommy's worn out. Chemo's kicking in. She's doing bad. And daddy's there playing patty cake and and I'm just like, it's breaking my heart. Cause I'm like, she's over here trying to strengthen up to even be outdoors. Daddy may one day have to be like, I'm going to be a single dad with all these kids. I just got up, went to their waiter. I was like, listen, give me their bill. Like, I want to please keep it anonymous. I want to do something for somebody.
Yeah.
And they didn't need to know about it. They never found out about it. It was just a matter of one day somebody did something good to make you feel better or to take that weight of the world off your shoulders because, the world's just crashing down on you. You don't know when that father's going to be like, hey, listen, mom's not going to make it. It's just us now. Like, it broke my heart. I just want to do something nice for somebody. So for you to go out there, like I said, especially in a time of uncertainty with everything that's going on in the world now and giving up your portion to make somebody else's days better, just to put a little hope in their heart. Shout out to you, Goldy. I mean, that's what makes you who you guys, you are.
No, I appreciate that. But if everybody listening, like every month, if everybody could just do one thing, even if it's $5, I've got there's a wrestling person that's out there that said, would you come on my podcast and can I sell $10 questions? Because a friend of mine who's a heel, who he couldn't post it, he made a GoFundMe for his mom, who's not even that. They're not even asking for that much. It's like they've got maybe $2,500 left to raise for a GoFundMe, and it's for making her apartment handicapped. I can never say that word. Accessible.
Close
and enough. They're asking for $4,000. That's
right.
That processes as ramp here and handles here, and that's nothing, and they don't have it. And he's like, will you help me? And I just went on and I just said, you guys, can we all give $5? If you've never done a GoFundMe before, if you've never done this or that, just look for somebody even in your community or somebody that I get irked with the sign holders that look like they're in better shape than me. They're and I'm like, you got a nice shave and your hair is good and you got a manicure and I'm not trying to judge, but I go looking for the ones pushing the carts like under the bridges,
Right.
or the people that are not out asking for anything, and then just very quietly approach with like, hey, are you good today? Because I got a little extra. I kind of don't ask them. I just sort of say, are you good? Or is there anything you need? And then they can kind of just see where they're at, and then just be like, hey, I had a good night last night. I just appreciate you. And then get the fuck out of there. Like, don't camp out. Don't just get out. And same thing with the grocery store. I'll say, I got a little extra on my credit card, no cash. If you want to come in, you got $50 to go buy whatever you want, or $30 or $10 or $5 or whatever. Anything and every time we do this on tour, it's like, you can just see them like they don't want to go over. I've never in my life of giving people free groceries had anybody come up there with like all this extra shit. The best story ever was in Biloxi, Mississippi. They had it down to like 29 cents under thing. And then when I got up there, I was like, oh, well, I really like, that's my favorite kind of that. Oh, well, here. And like, they were going to, I'm like, no, you keep
I'm good.
They were ready to give me like half of their, whatever it was, and I'm like, no, like, people are good. People are good. And whatever the media with all the bullshit that's going on, I don't care whether you're vaccinated or not, or masked or not, like all this has a very serious hidden agenda. And if you don't know that, you need to wake the fuck up seriously. And people do not hate each other as much as we are forced to believe. And people are not as bad as we are forced to believe. Like, there's a lot of really good out there, but far be it for any news coverage to cover that, far be it for any network to like talk about how great there are a lot of people out there.
There's no ratings and there's no profit in good news.
No, there isn't any profit in good news.
Yeah, it sucks, man. And speaking, not to, I mean, you touched on this before, but you are a mental health advocate. You are a motivational speaker. You've got 2 great songs out there, All to You, which deals with suicide prevention.
Wow.
And Black, the Pearl Jam cover that, about child abuse awareness.
Heat.
And what's that?
The heat.
Yeah.
The publicist that I was working with said, put out a picture that you have where you got beat. And I did. And it was like, within a week, it had over 1 million imprints on it. It was this horrible picture of a big black eye. And man, the heat that I got, and the people that said they will never support me again, they will never talk to me again. All I did is put out a picture of me beaten with nothing. I didn't say anything. And everybody freaked the F out with their own interpretation of, oh, you're a man hater. How dare you? And this guy that I remember I dated one time, he found me on Facebook. He's like, it's people like you piece of S and blah, blah, blah. It's people like you that got my kids taken away from me. I'm like, well, I'm glad I didn't. I'm like, okay, little TMI, but I'm like, I didn't do anything but post a picture of me beaten. And then you don't know if that's makeup. You don't know if it's real. You don't know if I really was beaten and saved the picture. You don't know if it's from wrestling where I might've gotten hit by, well, you don't know what it's from. I didn't say, but the funny and the beauty in that was when the Black video came out, I was the abuser. I was the heel in that video, and it's ugly. And it's an ugly video. And why would you look so ugly in that video? Because there's nothing pretty about child abuse, and child abuse comes from all walks of life, abused children. And what people need to realize is anybody that's abusing a child was definitely abused themselves. Yeah. And you got to look at like where that's coming from. And that guy that we helped out yesterday morning, whenever it was, when we got back from tour, as my dad, who's a retired parole officer, he's like, if you spend 5 minutes talking with these murderers, these rapists, pedophiles, sex offenders, like you will find out within 5 minutes what went wrong, which is no support, no family structure, molestation, abuse. Yeah, you can't like be happy about their crime, but you have to understand that they're human beings that have nothing. They didn't have anybody. They don't have like your kids who are refusing leftovers. They didn't have shit. So start understanding where people are coming from. Stop canceling everybody out. Stop judging everybody, and figure out what it is that you can do. And maybe you can't get involved, but maybe you can give a little bit of something extra to an organization that does, or maybe there's a parish in your community that does outreach to cancer, like you were saying, or find something that you identify with it, or drug abuse, or you support your local AA, whatever. There's so many things out there that might touch your heart, that you can figure out. I know people that don't have money or they can't adopt animals at shelters, but they go give the animals a nice walk once a month. What's the hurt in that?
Yeah, man, it's paying it forward. It's looking at yourself in the mirror and knowing that you're in a good place, but there are people out there that are suffering. So what can you do to make that change?
And it could be anything.
Anything, man.
Anything. It doesn't have to be money.
When you put those songs out there, what was the initial response? Because clearly you're not doing it for profit. You're doing it to make a statement. You're doing it to help others, to create that awareness. Because after every video, you've got the phone numbers where if you need help, if you've thought about suicide, if you know somebody who's been, there is help for you out there. What was that initial reaction and feedback that you got once those singles dropped?
A lot of hate towards me. YouTube even shut down the suicide one, and they just keep sending me these stupid messages that say it's not what for viewable, appropriate. It's not appropriate for people to see or whatever. A lot of mixed emotion. The child abuse one, just because of the promo that we did beforehand, was complete hate towards me. Some people got it. They're like, okay, I see. I'm like, yeah, I'm showing you that like a chick can be an abuser and I'm an abuser and I'm the bad guy in this particular instance. Some of the things that were really cool was where parents said, my kid watched it and asked questions and we talked. We had a conversation. Sure. We had the best conversation that we could. The suicide one, I ended up editing that, which I wasn't originally planned to have me edit it, but the person bagged out because of COVID. And I was like, give it to me, I'll edit it. And like, so it was 9 months of shooting All To You with, Chris Henderson from Three Doors Down and going out to his house, his wife being a part of it. It was Bobby Capps from 38 Special rock group, flew in and we had to do it around his schedule and his tour bus and all of his people and getting somebody to play his daughter. And Tupac Shakur's cousin came to town, got him to come in. It was BB King's daughter who came in, the Blues Queen. So many people, James Storm, came in and played like literally the part of a modern day Jesus. Alan Funk, Chase Stevens, all these like superstars came in to do this. And it was really, really hard to film it all. And then I'm sitting there with like just piles of footage of 9 months worth of footage for me to figure out the best job that I could.
You had to chop it yourself.
I chopped it all myself. Wow. Yeah. Wow. So that was like really, and then watching somebody kill themselves over and over and over, like it took its toll. Like I literally, and then when I was all done, I was like, this is a really beautiful, and then some people were like, oh, this sucks. This is cheesy. What have you done during COVID other than your ass, what have you done? You show me what you've done and then we'll compare notes and I'll applaud you. Oh, wait, you've done nothing. Okay. Right. So yeah. But now, we've had like 13 people reach out and say, I was just looking up suicide and how to do myself in and found this video, and it's all the comments that people have left. People have left it's like a guest book, like an obituary, but not of comments about stick around, stay, you can do this. And like 12, 13 people over the last year have said, I saw this and I read some comments that made me think about it twice. So there you go. Hate for me, but what do I care? I've been in wrestling.
Yeah, man. Well, let's talk about your actual rock star career, man, because I mean, you've opened up for acts like Pink, Puddle of Mud, Three Doors Down, and Nickelback. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. I mean, I want to see some more of the Goldylocks Rocks band out there.
We do too,
man. And doing some original joints, man. I love your music, and you're so passionate when you go out there. There's people out there that they're like, yeah, man, just fucking pay me all day long. You out there, I mean, you interact with the crowd. You want to be a part of the people. You want to tell a story. A lot of your stuff is cover stuff, but when you sing it differently than the person who originally sung it. And I'm like, holy shit, why does she have like this monster record deal right now? What's going on with your band and your career in the rock world?
That one of the groups, thanks for asking that. You so have done your homework, and I really, really, really appreciate that. Like, you have no idea. So we're not a Christian band at all. Like, obviously listen to my mouth, like, and what we do and crazy stuff, but we always like to do some songs that, applaud or give a shout out to the big guy. So All To You was released on a Christian label and it was nominated for a Dove Award. And I love singing that song at the end of the night when everybody's just like trashed and done. It's like slipping a little something about God and a little bit of hope. We've got a new song that's going on a movie soundtrack that's coming up that I'm actually going to be in. I had somebody playing the opposite part of me, but I think that they took another movie right now. So it'll be another person that you all know very, very well. I believe in the wrestling community. I won't jinx it, but we'll see if he ends up playing the opposite of me. But it's a really passionate role of a drug addict and somebody who they go at each other and they're going to basically kill each other. It's really brutal fight scene. That's why I wanted one of my boys to play the opposite so we could get a really good fight scene going. Mm-hmm. And then I'm writing one of the songs on the soundtrack, and that will be I made sure that it mentioned God and it was about God, and it's so freaking badass, and it's traditional. It's not country, but it's like bluegrassy classic type of stuff. Mm-hmm. We got the Brenda Lee Opry, like there's the Opry Land Opry, the good old Opry in Nashville. We got the Brenda Lee singers to do backgrounds on it. I got the backgrounds back last night. Now I could have done the backgrounds, but I'm like, I want some old dolls on this to make this like legit. Authentic. And like, I literally was and I like called my boys up at like 1 a.m. I'm like, get on, you got to hear this. Like, and they're like, oh my God. So, it's totally not, I like a challenge of like, can you do this? This is something completely off my scale, grid, out of my wheelhouse, and it's I think it's so they're gonna submit that whole album for a Dove and a Grammy. And there's just something in my heart that says like, and the cool thing about the song was really, I'll even cry if I don't just breeze past it, but one of my guys in the band said, I'm going to dedicate this song to that kid that we met the other day that was starting his car up with the screwdrivers, like, because the name of the song is just about being screwed up, and it's basically saying like, I am a complete F up in my life, but I started out good and I mean really, really well, but like shit just hit the fan, and like, boy, am I destructive and I am a mess. But you know what, at the end of the day, no matter what, God made me and I'm okay. And it's like, it's a really good song. I cannot wait. And I'd love to come back on when that's out and like just talk about it, because it's like, it's a frick, but it's not like rock or anything like that. And I don't think you should be so camped out on, I have to do this or I have to do that. Yeah, it's still music and it's good, but it's like, it's a soundtrack. It's different. And I'm excited about that. We got more rock stuff coming out. We've got possibly a new bass player coming in from Brazil, finally working with this guy remote for 2.5 years during COVID. Okay. And, so we're doing a few more pop songs too. We're going to do some badass videos for that, like just pimped out, almost like rapper style video for one of them with like just all these like, all these dogs from like the Humane Society. They're going to like let us use like as many dogs as we can fit in the scene. And it's going to be, it's going to be sick. And then the dogs will get adopted and it'll be good. So
is that one of your charities as well? And one of your passions is
the Humane Society and the ASPCA and the SPCA. Okay. So we go and we take the dogs for a ride. We slate them. We sing our song. It's like a little music video. And then we tour the animal shelters and literally talk about all of these dogs that are for adoption, and now cats. They want us to push the cats, but like, don't, if you cannot go to a breeder or to a store, like go find some old pup or some old puss whose time is running out and give them, a good quality ending of those old cats. I swear to God, those bastards, they know, and you can just tell an animal that's been rescued because they're just so excited to have a second chance. Yeah. There's nothing like it. And, and if you can't go get an animal, like I said, go bathe them, go every Saturday, first Saturday of the month, or take them for a walk, or help them out. But there's all these precious animals out there. And I always get these old pusses, cause that's about what I need. An old puss, the last one I had was 21 when she met the Lord, but she had a good life. Annie, the sexual puss, and she was a rescue cat.
Annie, the sexual. Wait, why she's a sexual puss?
You have to look up hashtag Annie, the sexual puss. Look her. She was the sexiest cat. That she was a Persian and had no time for anybody. She was like an ecstasy puss. Like she would just lay around like with her junk hanging out, like just like in the heat, like, like a video girl. Like she was just like, so, and then I would sing songs to her and she would literally look at me and get up and walk away. Like it's all Annie, like try a little Prince, try a little Lady Gaga. It didn't, Rolling Stones. It did not matter. Like literally I would open my mouth and she would look at me and leave. And just like, you just see her ass walking out of frame. So that's too sexy. She doesn't need to hear any music. She's too good.
That's awesome, man. Now
Yeah.
you mentioned before, and I had seen that. I know you're a Minnesota girl. Shout
Yeah.
out to Prince, Purple Rain, Paisley
Yes.
Park, big fan of the God. But you had some experiences with Paisley Park and with Prince. Can you give us a little bit of what it
Yeah.
was like?
Again, I met Prince digging out of his dumpster. So,
Out of the Paisley Park dumpster, you were
out of
digging?
Paisley Park
What
dumpster,
kind of shit did Prince throw away?
he threw away a lot of fabric, and that's what I
Okay.
wanted for my
Oh,
gimmicks, because I made my own
right.
gimmicks. And then as a young kid riding their bike, breaking the rules, getting in there, I started to make clothes. I started to do graphic design and take photographs of all of their artists and whatnot. And that's how I got my record deal, was by making a lot of gimmicks for all the local Minneapolis artists, a lot of wrestlers coming out of Minneapolis. And later on, I would, get my thing with TNA and make the gimmicks for all those boys and girls. I made everybody's gimmick in TNA. So that's how I got into music, as far as like a big record deal, was by digging in a dumpster.
Oh my God. It's funny. I'm big. I love Michael Jackson, but I love Prince too. They're equal right
Ooh,
there.
the rival.
Man, the 80s were hot back in the day. But recently, about a year, right before COVID, Questlove from the Roots actually did like this traveling tour where he did a bunch of unknown, obscure Prince songs with a symphony orchestra, which is phenomenal. So the first half, I'm a big Prince fan, so they were doing like Christopher Tracy's Parade. They were doing all this other shit from Sign of the Times that a lot of people don't know about. You can see people getting answered like, I never heard Starfish and Coffee. What the fuck what's going on here? Second half, after intermission, they come back, they start doing the hits. They close out with Purple Rain. So when Prince gets down with that solo, they all, out of respect, out of Prince, they had him on a big screen. The minute that solo comes on, everybody puts down the instrument and they walk away. Nobody could top it. It sent chills throughout my body. So I can only imagine what it's like being in his presence. Although I heard my dude was a little wild. He would like make music at 4:00 in the morning and be like, yo, I want to buy a giraffe and dye his hair purple. So he would do his shit. And I'm like, oh, wow. Do you have any great Prince stories that nobody may have ever heard?
They're not always the most positive, so I don't tell them.
That's cool.
What? I do have one. I do have one. My stuff's all called The Factory. And one night I was working really, really late, and I had crap laid all over the studio that I was at, making little pieces of things. And he didn't talk to people that much. And it was like 3:00 in the morning. And I just saw him like look in and like real quietly, like look at everything. And he just looked at me and he goes, you have a regular little factory here. And he walked away. And that's why everything I have now is The Factory, but you have a regular little factory here. And I was like, oh, he's talking to me, because I hadn't really started like working on music or anything. And I never worked on music like all the time with him. It would always be like some minion of his or somebody that he assigned to it. A lot of his people from the New Power generation worked with me, which was great. Yeah. But the factory thing, like that's everything I have now is The Factory by Goldylocks because of that.
He never was like, yo, Goldy, you got to purify yourself in the waters of Lake Minnetonka. He never gave you that Apollonia shit.
I was too young. No, and he was dating like Carmen Electra, and he had Mai Tai, and Prince made it seem like he was a big player, and I'm sure he was.
Yeah,
but
he was romantic.
But he did like stick with one chick for like a long time, and like I don't think he was cheating on them a lot, because he was really obsessive with them and controlling.
Yeah.
He was too busy like figuring out like where they were at all times, and like you must be dressed at all times. There's no casual attire. Like you were always like, if you were an artist of his, you were made up. And even when I wasn't working with him, but I was working with like other people in that camp, everything was just absolutely, you had to just be perfect at all, which was kind of mentally, there was a lot of mental stuff that went on back then that was not good. It could push you over the edge. So yeah,
I hear you.
A lot of stories to tell.
But let's talk before the wrestling fandom starts losing their fucking mind here, because we haven't talked about wrestling yet. Let me throw a couple of questions your way. You're very critical of your career in wrestling. It was a short-lived career within TNA Wrestling, but you, like I said, you've been your biggest critic, but you did say that your podcast that you do on Vince Russo's The Brand is more like your redemption for your wrestling run. Why is that?
I just didn't know what I was doing back then. I mean, you can sit there and say how bad I sucked. The more I look at the stuff from 20 years ago, I didn't suck. You suck for saying that somebody who had no idea what they were doing was supposed to be basically singing on the show with a little bit of backstage interviews. I never set out to be a manager. I never set out to be in the ring and do all of that stuff. And for somebody to learn all that stuff as they go along and not be a complete whore like a lot of people were. I mean, I've got my sins and things that I've messed up, but like there was just a lot of really like funky stuff going on back behind stage that, you know, we can't really talk about all that stuff, but I kept my P's and Q's and my wits about me. And a lot of those interviews, they paved the way for a lot of the backstage interviewing chicks. I had a different style and it was completely authentic to me. Like I was legitimately disturbed by these guys, or like I wasn't afraid of any of them, where everybody was either afraid of them because they were big and like they didn't want to get their ass kicked, or like they wanted to kiss ass. And I lived in Beverly Hills. I was flying in every week. I didn't care. I didn't care. I didn't give 0 F's about what you thought about me. And it comes across on camera like that. And it's funny and it was entertaining and it's supposed to be sports entertainment. That's what TNA was. And it was the wild, wild west where everything and anything happened backstage. And a lot of that stuff is, you know, kayfabe and sacred because you can't get some people in trouble for certain things. There's a code of honor. And nowadays it's just like, there was no fucking Instagram back then. There wasn't Facebook and Twitter. And like now everybody that's a heel, they're not really a heel. And then they just have a double life and do whatever they need to do to get their fans and views and supporters. And it's not real. And it was really real back when we started. I mean, I was there the first day that Impact started. I am the OGs when it comes to background, you know, interviewing. I was taking the photos. I was doing the graphics. I was making the gimmicks. Like people don't know all that stuff. And like I said, I can honestly say I paved the way for a lot of girls. And now they just come out like some dumb bitch, like, who'd be? It's just like, go do porn, honey. Just go do your thing. Like, you know, it's just not, I don't even believe you. You don't even look at you're just reading lines like, Vince, when Vince came to TNA, he just was basically, just go out there and just, you know, it's somewhat about this. Jeff let me do my thing. They let me do crazy rich girl gimmick, the changing gimmicks, the Japanese lady, Chinese lady, the Hispanic lady, all the different characters that I played. You know, they didn't give 2 crap shits to the wind what I did. As long as I ran it by them, they're like, yeah, cool, just go try it.
Yeah,
you know,
there was a very authentic feel with your promos because it didn't seem it was like overly produced, overly scripted. Whereas the chicks now, it's just like, let me make sure I don't forget my line and plug the pay-per-view for this Sunday. And when I was
not real,
it just seemed there was so much substance to your character, which is just mind-boggling on how you didn't continue in the wrestling business. Were there offers after TNA? Was there any interest from WWE? Or
no, and you know, I mean, I went out so badly because of Abyss. It's, you know, well known that he got me fired for just lying and creating stories that you know weren't there. And it's prominent in the wrestling business that Chris is insecure with stuff like. He's a big, huge giant I mean, if you ask anybody, he's always worried about his spot. He's always worried about his job security. He just went and said that I was going to sue the company if I took the bad Black Hole Slam. And I didn't say that. I said, I'm opening for 3 Doors Down with the band in a couple weeks and Puddle of Mud and Nickelback. I don't want to be paralyzed. Could I take a different bump? That's all I said. Terry Taylor, would you show me how to do this the right way? And nobody gave me any help at all. I'll just be limp. I'm like, what's going to happen to me? I've never taken a bump before. Am I going to go over the top ring rope? Are you going to throw me out of the ring? Am I going to land flat? Like I've got a degenerative pre-existing disease, a degenerative disc disease. Like what's going to happen to me? What do I do here? Like this isn't in my wheelhouse. And I just was asking questions and Abyss took that opportunity to just say she's going to sue the company if she gets it. And I'm like, that's not at all what I said. And it's documented in Jerry Jarrett's autobiography that I already had my chance to like completely sue the company for millions of dollars for some really shitty stuff that happened right off the get-go. And instead I went to the office and said, what can we do with this? And they fixed it for me. And I never said anything about it. And I never got my lawyer involved, even though my lawyer was the lawyer that was the head of the promotion. And she was on her way out and would have taken that and ran for the hills with that. Because what I had, the proof that I had of bad stuff, if I was going to sue the company, I would have done it then. I'm sure as hell not going to do it a year and a half, 2 years later when I've made friends with all these people. You know, that's just, you know, that's where people were getting their start. AJ Styles, CM Punk, like all these guys, they were having a really good shot. Like, I'm not going to just, I'm going to sue the company if I take a bad bump. Like, that's just not even real. So I wish I would have gotten some offers, but you know what? God had other things for me in plan and in store. Who knows? Maybe I would have become a wrestler and died or gone down the wrong path or got involved in drugs, and I would never gotten involved with all that stuff. It's not me, but who knows? It didn't happen. Other things happen. I love TV. I'm excited about the new show. If you've listened to any of this Midnight Hustle and enjoyed it or not enjoyed it, go find the TLC on corresponding platforms and tag me in it, Midnight Hustle, leave a comment. Probably I'll show up and PayPal you some money for lunch or something like that. That's the worst that can happen, is you get a free lunch or dinner out of the gimmick.
Well, man, that's, and like I said, it's just a damn shame because the wrestling community supports you so much.
Oh, I love them.
You could have seen more of Goldylocks, and it's such a limited reel of what you did. It was the early days, the asylum days of TNA, and it's unfortunate that after what Abyss might have said to the powers that be, that you became a liability to others. Like, yo,
not a liability. I would love to come back and like tell a backstory of only I could, of one of the people that either bring somebody back to Impact Wrestling or bring Abyss back. Let there be complete. We don't have heat anymore, but let us have heat. Bring them back. Let me tell the story of Abyss. Like, let me tell somebody's story. Like I would, because I'm so evil right now. I could be so evil and wear my black wig, and I would love to come back, or I'd love to come to a different promotion. I'd love to go to a different promotion and figure out a way to like tell somebody's story. Like, I'm so ready to do that. And I would love to. Contractually, I can't do anything right now.
Nothing.
So please go,
you're a TV star now. So.
No, please go blow up TLC, because I'm kind of in a weird spot. So if you're listening, go find a TLC thing and just say something funny, clever, something that doesn't sound like I paid you to go leave a nice comment. But yeah, like I'm looking forward to doing more of the TLC shows, because it is such a passion to help people save money. You know, you pull from that wrestling career of being a heel, or like I was, just so irreverent towards all these legends. I didn't even know how half of them were. You know, I'm like interviewing like Terry Funk or Bret, Hart. I don't know who all these guys are.
It's crazy. And you mentioned that you could have had, TNA by the balls. I guess it's documented in Jerry Jarrett's book. Have you considered doing a song or some sort of awareness about sexual harassment?
I did a really, really, really amazing one with an amazing video and the guy who wrote it and I helped out with it is like a senior editor of like one of the largest magazines like of all time, and it's a very sexist magazine that he's the senior editor for, and we were going to run the story in there, and in the video I'm nude. It's so badass, completely painted in white, and then somebody's doing stuff to me, and it's disturbing to watch. And it's like, I was so down to put that out, and then we parted ways because the guy that was managing me is complete evil, and everybody calls him Satan or the devil. So I never told the guy, the editor, like he just keeps like wondering where his video is. And it's like, it's done. And I ended up editing it, and it's so good. And the song was about sexual harassment, and it was so good. And it's like, it just bums me out that piece of work can't see the light of day, but it's attached to too many people. Like, so maybe we'll do that one again someday, but it's so brutal. Like you'd watch it just because I look pretty good in it. But the only time I would ever do something, it's not like full on nude. The only time I would do something like that is if there's like a really good reason or a cause attached to it that it's going to make some waves that somebody's helped from it. You know what I mean? Like that's where just posing nude and all that ain't my thing, to each his own, but it's been done, but this was so cool. I really wish it. And you know what? I've had so many people reach out and say, will you make a statement or a comment about the, not Me Too, but the speaking out in wrestling? And I'm like, no, because I really don't, except for that one thing with TNA, like no worker was ever inappropriate to me. No wrestler was ever sexually abusive to me or explicit. Like those guys treated me as they do now to this day, like royalty. Yeah. They treated me so good. All those guys. Yeah. All of them.
You mentioned the Me Too movement, and believe me, I support anybody who's been abused or harassed or put in a position where just sexual misconduct. But in wrestling, I'm not saying that it's okay in wrestling, but in wrestling, these dudes party hard. There's groupies, there's rats, there's relationships behind the scenes. Were you able to keep away from that? Is that maybe one of the reasons why? Because you're so independent on who you are and so controlling and so positive and on who you are that maybe you don't fall into those pitfalls of the wrestling lifestyle. What did you think when you got into wrestling and you saw all of the activity going on?
Yeah, it not for me. I granted I was no saint and did other things that weren't great. I had relationships with people I was not supposed to.
Wrestlers?
Well, just people. We'll leave it at that. Like,
people.
And you don't always know who's got somebody or who's not, or who's single or who's married, and in wrestling, everybody's single. Everybody's gonna get divorced like next week or last week or whatever. Right. And like, you don't know stuff. And then it's sometimes you maybe in a little too deep before you know things. But so I will go on record as saying I'm no angel. I'm no saint. I made my mistakes. I realize what I've done and I won't be doing those again. Now, when it comes to like the rats and the partying and the bukkake and all the funky stuff that I've seen in stairwell, oh God! I'm
Wait,
like,
you saw really? A bukkake party?
Oh, just really funky stuff, like especially in Florida, like just bad stuff that I've seen that I cannot unsee.
That wasn't at the Ale House bathroom, was it?
Yeah, probably was at the Ale House bathroom. No, I was after the Ale House bathroom. Okay. There were certain people, CM Punk, Christopher Daniels, some of the Canadians that literally would party for a minute, make their connections, and then we'd all go back to the hotel and either sleep out at the pool because you got rid of your room or go to the gym.
Yeah.
Like a lot of those guys are just like, this isn't for me. I'm going to go to the gym. Vince never went to anything, who Jim Cornette always makes fun of because he just was like, my mom used to say there's really nothing going on good after midnight. Like, and she's right. There just really isn't. A lot of drugs, too much drinking. And I wish that people would actually hold people responsible for how much alcohol that they would consume while on the pills and painkillers and Coke. And because it's really hypocritical when you're partying with all these people. And then, now it's like, you're a meme of, oh, you got rest in peace. You're 50 years old and you're dead. It's like, you've got wrestler's disease. Like, why don't you ever, like, if you love these people so much and you're such a fan and they're your brother, bro, if they're really your brother, then why didn't you say, you know what, probably cut it off tonight, or let's lay out, or how about we do something different tonight? Like, we can still hang out, but like, just pretend you're doing blow, or just pretend you're taking pills, or pop some fucking certs and have that, or Tic Tacs, like, cause they're all dead. And then how good are they to us to enjoy when everybody is dead by like they're 50 years old? I feel so bad. No, you don't. You're a fake. You're a liar. You're a hypocrite.
Man, no, Goldy, we can chop it up all day. So I'm gonna start wrapping it up here. But before we do, tell us a little bit about your podcast on Vince Russo's The Brand.
Goldie's Closet, just like yours, trying to do sports entertainment, wrestling, conspiracy theories, entertainment, singers, whatever. If there's something that we can have on there and somebody's got something to promote, because most of these guests are not paid, they are volunteering their time, something that you can learn or take away. I've got a lot of specialists, doctors, sex wellness doctors come on and talk about taboo things that, maybe listening, it could help you and your wife's relationship, or maybe if you're listening, it would help you pee better or take a proper dump, or your sex life is improved. I just try to cover things that are interesting. We did cryptocurrency a while ago. Some people don't even know what Bitcoin is. They don't know what cryptocurrency is. They don't know what Cardano is, or Algorand, or whatever. We just want to educate people with stuff that's positive. I don't really do a lot of negative stuff on my show. And, there's plenty of shows on Vince's Brand that are funny or castrating the marks, or, they're heel kind of shows. And mine's just all really positive. I cut some promos on people, and that's it. It's russosbrand.com, and it's super cheap, just like yours probably. So I love it. It's every week. I got to do it, whether I want to or not. It's coming out.
Well, you got good stuff, and you're so well-rounded. You cover so many topics. I mean, literally, when I was doing my research on you, I was like, how many fucking websites does she have? I mean, you're out there hustling, literally hustling. You got good stuff going on out there. But make sure that you fans out there check out Goldylocks Rocks. All of her websites. You'll find it. Goldie, tell them where you're at on social media.
It's just the easiest place is Twitter or Instagram, Goldie with a Y, Locks Rocks. And again, it looks like I'm all over the place, but I'm not. Everything I do is usually concentrated on doing my best to spread some joy and sunshine. Cause I'm by nature, a very pessimistic, dismal person, like my father, who was a parole officer. You know, I grew up with a dad coming home, dealing with murderers, rapists, pedophiles, and sex offenders. Imagine that. So I have to push myself to do content that helps rehabilitate me. And, you know, like we talked about, like I did not know what I was doing in wrestling. So here's my chance to have these guests back on Goldy's Closet and really give them the props and the accolades that they deserve. Because I didn't even know what these guys, Crowbar from WCW, I didn't know what he did. You know, I just was like, here's some guy with long, oily hair. And, you know, I had no idea what Kurt Hennig stood for or did. I didn't know all of these guys, and Ricky Steamboat. Like I didn't know what he contributed to the business. So here's my chance. There's a lot of redemption, a lot of people coming on the show where I can just say, I'm really sorry. I didn't know how great that you are. You know, please accept my apology and let's talk about what you're doing now.
Yeah, man. Well, listen, I want to talk to you again. Like I said, you're a phenomenal guest. You're so well versed. I mean, and you're not afraid to just open up and speak your mind. And I think we need a lot more of that instead of all this powder puff beating around the bush bullshit. But Goldy, again, shout out to you for everything that you do, for all the people that you're helping out there, for everything that you stand for and the hard work you're putting in to not only your business, but in making people better. So thank you again for joining us here today. Ladies and gentlemen, this is DieHard Derek. That is Goldylocks. This is the Midnight Hustle. Can you dig it? We are out of here. We're out of time, and make sure that you follow us, because if not, you're not going to know when she's coming back next. We're out of here, my people. Peace. Can you dig it?